Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
And I'm Ryan Newman.
All right, we continue Pac-12 preview week. It is question 10 of our overall college football season preview series. If you missed our last two episodes, we covered USC and Oregon, so be sure to check those out on our feed. But Ryan, what's our question for today?
Our question today is, which Pac-12 pairing is the best?
Okay, so this is Ryan's idea. I think it's a great idea. So obviously the Pac-12 is made up of 6 pairings. So you've got Washington and Washington State, Oregon and Oregon State, on down the line. And so to answer this question, we're just looking at their 2021 teams. And we asked ourselves, let's say Washington played games against Oregon and Oregon State, and then Washington State played games against Oregon and Oregon State. Who would win the combined scores? Would the Washingtons or the Oregons have more points? So, let's just get into the rankings.
All right. Well, we'll start off with the bottom. Number 6, the worst pairing we agreed on was the Arizona schools, Arizona and Arizona State. So
okay, so I'm gonna correct you there because I did not agree with this one.
Oh,
we combined our list and came up with the average, but I did not have Arizona and Arizona State last on my personal list. I know Arizona State has some issues with potentially with sanctions and whatnot. We don't know what's going to happen as a result of their possible alleged violations. But, as far as this season, they've got 95% of their production returning. I think they're potentially a top 20 type team. So they kind of anchor this group a little bit. Ryan, you can talk about Arizona because I'm guessing that's the reason they
Arizona's looking at maybe it's possible they get. I mean, it's possible they go winless, but it's possible they get maybe like 1 or maybe 2 wins max. It's just gonna be a tough first year for Jed Fish. The offense loses their best player, QB Grant Cannell. So yeah, they're not gonna be able to throw. Line's okay, for decent running backs, but the defense is terrible as well. So I know they bring in Don Brown, defensive coordinator, but that's a tall order, and they were terrible last year. So it's hard for our new staff to come in and all of a sudden make a massive jump. So they're certainly in the fight for the worst team in the conference.
Okay, well let's get to the one that I had last in my opinion, by kind of a decent margin. But Cal and Stanford is number 5 on our combined list here. So Ryan, why'd you have them here?
I mean, this out of all the pairings, these were the 2 that I thought were like the closest to themselves. So, they could have very similar years. They're both expected to go about 4-5 and 5-4 type seasons, maybe in the Pac-12, depending on maybe if you're higher or lower on them. But for Cal, I have them low. I have them 5th here. It's not like I'm high on them, but I just feel like Cal, I feel like they have a little too many concerns that I'm a little worried about. Their O-line really lacks some punch. Severe lack of playmakers. They just do not have a good receiving core. I like Garbers. I think he's solid, but he just doesn't have much to work with. And, they lost a key piece in the spring. Brett Johnson, their defensive lineman, ruptured his Achilles, so he's out for the year. That's tough. And then they lose an all-conference corner. So, I think they're going to be okay. They're gonna just kind of be a middle-of-the-road team. And I think the same thing about Stanford, really. If they can get better at stopping the run, then I think they're going to be all right. Also, the jury's still out on Jack West as a quarterback, but, they'll have a decent line. I think they'll get better. I think they're going to be a little more committed to running. I just see about the same type of team here, 4 or 5 Pac-12 wins. They could combine for about 9 or so.
Okay, so for me, I looked at SP Plus as kind of my anchor, and of course there are certain rankings where I disagree with SP Plus, but it's kind of a good starting point. And it has Stanford about a touchdown better than Arizona, if I'm comparing the Bay Area schools to the Arizonas, which sounds about right to me. I mean, Stanford is going in the wrong direction as a program. They're 122nd in returning production this year, so I don't think there's like a massive difference between them and Arizona, the worst team. But then it has ASU 13 points better than Cal. And there I disagree. That sounds like a bit much to me. But even if I'm adjust that a few points, combined, I think the Arizona schools just have a slight edge. So, well, in my opinion, a decent edge, but I can understand why you went the other way.
I mean, this is a very subjective, thing here, so we're not going to agree on everything. It's good.
Okay, let's go to number 4 on the list, Utah and Colorado. And I think this is the right spot for this group. Colorado, probably right around that Stanford level. But Utah, they bring this group up a notch. They should be very good. The defense was young last year, got some experience, and Charlie Brewer at quarterback, he could be kind of the difference that makes this offense a lot better than last year with Jake Bentley.
Yeah, Colorado kind of obviously overachieved last year, but there's if you kind of look at what they got, there was reason for the success that they had. They have a good offensive line; they can run the ball. Now we'll see if they can get a little better quarterback play this year. And their defense has still got some pieces, so they're going to be all right. I don't think I think maybe some people are expecting them to kind of bottom out, and then they didn't finish last year all that strong, but I still think that they're going to be a competitive squad. And yeah, Utah. I really like Utah this year. They got so much coming back. The defense is going to be strong. They're going to stop the run like always. They're tough up front. They got a good ground game, some actual decent receivers, one of the best tight ends in the country. So I think they're going to be fighting for the Pac-12 South title. So yeah, I think this is just kind of a good group. They could be at 9-10 wins combined in the conference, so maybe even better. But seems about the right spot for them.
Okay, and we have a tie for second place on our list. We've got the Washingtons and the Oregons tied. So Ryan, why don't you make the case? You had the Washingtons as the better group. So why did you like them?
Yeah, so I had Washington State at the 2 spot over the Oregons. The main reason is I'm higher on Washington State than I think most people are. I think they will clearly have a better team than, let's say, like the Beavers will. I think they'll be significantly better. Yeah, so I think the gap between Wazoo and the Beavers is more than the gap between USC and Oregon.
You mean between
our USC and
Washington?
I mean
Washington and Oregon.
Washington and Oregon. Excuse me.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
I'm really confusing our listeners right now, and myself.
Yeah.
But no, Nick Rolovich, he was in his first year. Tough year to obviously be in your first year. COVID year, you don't have much practice. They only played 4 games. Their 3 losses were to Oregon, USC, and Utah. Like, those were some very tough teams they're going up against, and 2 of those were on the road. So the one game they won was actually at Oregon State, and they won by 10. So I just really don't see why they wouldn't improve this year. They got like 15 returning starters. Jaden Delora got his feet wet, as long as he can stay in the game. Max Borghi is a good running back. Deion McIntosh, another good running back. So I think they're going to be much, much better. And UW is set everywhere. As long as they can get better quarterback play, they're going to be good. It's just a matter of, are they going to be really good?
Yeah.
So I think you got two teams that are good quality teams. I think Wazoo was going to surprise. So that's why I'm just higher on them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the reason I have the Oregons higher is it sounds like I think the gap is closer between Washington State and Oregon State than you do. I see them as somewhat similar teams. Like, I think both of them are good on offense. Wazoo, I'll give you maybe a little better because of Nick Rolovich in year 2 installing that run and shoot system.
Oregon State loses Jamar Jefferson. They're great running back.
Yeah, so I do think Wazoo will be better on offense, but I think they're both kind of equally bad defensively. So
yeah.
I do think Wazoo's better, and I do like Wazoo. I kind of agree with you there, but I guess I also probably see a bigger gap between Oregon and Washington than you do. I think maybe Oregon's 4 or 5 points better than the Huskies. So it was a close one, but
yeah, it was.
It probably is good that they ended up tied.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's finish with the last one here.
Yeah.
At number 1, the LA schools, USC and UCLA. I don't know if I want to say this was a clear number 1, but I guess we both agreed.
I think it kind of was.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of an easy choice, but at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't number 1.
Okay, that's a good point.
So as far as UCLA, we've kind of talked about this, but it seems like it should be Chip Kelly's best team that he's had in LA. They were 3-4 last year, but all 4 losses were very, very close, including against USC and at Oregon. So 19 returning starters, that's kind of the main thing. They got everybody coming back. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson, going into his 4th year at quarterback, he's gotten better every year. He should be maybe the best, or if not the best, one of the best QBs in the Pac-12, at least make a case for it. So defense was getting better. They got better against the run, which they had struggled with for a while. Now they kind of flipped them. They stunk against the pass, but they got all their secondary coming back, so I think they'll get better. And USC, we kind of just know what they got. They're the favorites in the South, so anything less than 7 wins in the conference wouldn't be all that great for them. So yeah, I think we're going to have definitely 2 winning teams in the conference, with one maybe reaching 7, possibly 8. So two good teams.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because almost every group here has one good team and one bad team as you look down the list. But that is not the case for this LA group there. I think they're both good. Sure, USC is, you could argue a little bit behind Washington and a little bit behind Oregon. There's a little bit of a gap there, but UCLA, I think, more than makes up for that as by far the best second fiddle of any of these second schools in these pairings. So yeah, there you have it. There's our top 6 pairings, and we'll show the list if you're watching on YouTube. And again, this is just the list for 2021. But Ryan, which pairing would you buy stock in, moving forward the next few years?
Yeah, this was tough, actually. This one was
very tough.
Really hard choice.
Yeah,
because like you said, there's always one high team and then kind of a low team in it as well. So I'm like, not sure I'm really buying it. I thought about the LA schools, but I'm still just not buying Chip Kelly long term. He hasn't had a winning season yet, so it's not like he's proved anything. And Clay Helton, they are recruiting better, but it's like, it's just not surefire. So I ended up going with the Washington schools. I think Jimmy Lake will keep Washington going strong for at least a few more years. Maybe win a Pac-12 title and during that time. A little bit disappointed on his recruiting so far, but hopefully that'll kind of pick up, and they're still going to have talent. It's not like they're recruiting terribly. They had a small class and stuff. So, and then I'm high on Nick Rolovich. I think he's going to get maybe a Leach type of effect on Wazoo. Maybe not quite as to the success Leach had. Leach had some good times, but I think he can have similar aspirations and similar success there. So I'm pretty confident both those teams will be solid.
Yeah, I thought about the Washingtons, but I just, like you said, the start for Jimmy Lake I thought recruiting would take an uptick. I don't know. I'm not sold on the offensive coordinator hire. So and he just lost Pete Kwiatkowski, the great defensive coordinator. So that kind of scared me away from them following up Chris Peterson. That's a tough act to follow. So I went with the Oregon schools. I think Oregon will continue to be the best program in the Pac-12, and the way they're recruiting, it seems like it's getting better and better. I could see them, making a playoff in the next few years. And then with Oregon State, I just think Jonathan Smith, he inherited a very bad team, and he's it hasn't quite shown up in like a bowl game yet, but I think that's coming. I think
they were a snap away 2 years ago.
Yeah,
2019. They were just like, so close. So,
yep. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Oregons.
For Oregon, if they're the class, then you don't have to have Oregon State be, as long as they're somewhere competitive.
But I'm investing. I am investing high. I'm buying high in Oregon, so I don't get credit for them just maintaining their level. But
True.
We'll see.
True.
Okay, but that'll do it for today's episode. If you don't already, be sure to follow us on Twitter at CFB Bros. Retweet the episodes. I'm tweeting them out every day, so we'd appreciate you helping to spread the word. And we will be back tomorrow discussing the Washington Huskies. So we'll see you then.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.